a lot of interests and a lot of hobbies, and I feel like we just scratched the surface of it. But in order to kind of do the stuff you love, I imagine you have to manage your time. So how do you manage your time to make sure you have time for what you love to do?
Well, I don't sleep.
Oh, that's one way.
It's a joke, I really guess, but also I don't sleep nearly enough.
Mm.
But how do you manage to do everything you ever want to do? Well, you can't.
Hmm.
You can. There's way too much in the world to ever do anything you want to, everything that interests you. I look forward to heaven
Right.
because I am hoping that when I get to heaven, I'll finally be able to go back and check out all the things I missed here. Right? There's just so much it's interesting. So what do you do? For me, it's a matter of just never stopping.
Hmm.
When I go to bed at night, I lay down exhausted,
Hmm.
but I try to go 1,000% all the rest of that time. And 1,000% doesn't mean like I'm actually like in my armor and fighting somebody, or I'm actually like at a punk rock show. It can also mean just reading that book.
Hmm.
It can mean um, learning that recipe. It can mean digging those tomatoes in the garden. It can mean whatever the things are that are interesting. It's just a matter of doing it. Don't
Hmm.
put it off. Get it, like, go, and if something interests you, do it. And pretty soon you realize that, well, you don't have time to do everything you wanted to. You never will, so you got to get comfortable with that.
Yeah.
But you do have more time than you know. And sometimes it's even like, you know, I know you work a very serious job, frankly, the noblest job I know
Oh,
what you
thank
do.
you.
Um, I work a serious job.
Hmm.
My wife works a serious job. You
Hmm.
know, it's not like we can just forget about our day when we come home, right?
Right.
So I find that I got to have a little bit of spacer.
Hmm.
Um, when you're doing tastings, like let's say you do like a wine tasting or like a dessert tasting, whatever you're tasting, you know how you have like palate cleansers,
Yeah.
right? In between things, you got to have something to kind of separate out what you're doing. And so that's important.
Mm.
So if I'm had a hell of a day at work, and part of my work is very political, and sometimes that can be very stressful, right?
Yeah.
And just like, oh my God, it's one of those days. Rather than just going to the bar or going home and opening a bottle of wine and just vegging to
Hmm.
let my brain kind of go, ugh. And don't get me wrong, I do that sometimes too.
Right. Right. Right.
But I find it's better to say, okay, well, I'm just from work. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to lift
Mm.
weights. I'm
Yeah.
going to cycle a bit, half an hour, even 45 minutes. Okay, now it's like this mental break in between the crazy of work and what I get to do next. So then maybe I can come home and I can try a new recipe, or I
Mm.
can read that book, or I can make a radio show, or I can listen to a new record, or I can repair my armor, or I can research varieties of tomatoes that are going to grow better here, or I can do any one of a million other things that grab my interest.
Yeah.
I can go ride my motorcycle. I can go repair my motorcycle. I can read a book about the philosophy of repairing motorcycles.
Right.
I can do all those things because I can compartmentalize the mental effort behind each and every one.
Mm.
I give myself a little palate cleanser in between each activity. I'm a terrible multitasker.
That's fair.
So I don't try to do two things at once, but every little thing that I do, I give my 100% very best at. Marcus Aurelius, way back in Roman times, said, if anything is worth doing, this is paraphrasing, but if anything is worth doing, it's worth doing 100%. And if you're not going to give 100%, don't even bother.
Wow. I love it.
And so I've tried to live my life that way, knowing that I'm going to die someday with a billion and a half things left undone and books unread.
Hmm.
And I hate that, but I'm going to work that number down like as hard as I possibly can until that time. So how do I do so much stuff? Because I want to.
Yeah. You just do it. That's what I heard. That's awesome. That is some great advice. I'm honestly the palate cleanser. I'm going to write that down and start doing that between work and my afternoons or after work, because without the commute now, because I'm working from home, makes such a difference. But I love that.
Yeah.
That's great advice. Great advice.